Welcome, everyone, to this edition of From Around the World Fridays. I'm your host, Kyle Rasmussen, and today we're continuing with Alaska. My trip up there just a few weeks ago in the wintertime, which was great. Barely got to see the sun, but today we're headed up to the Arctic Circle and going to see something pretty amazing. So enjoy, everyone. So one of the days that I was in Fairbanks, I actually took a tour up to the Arctic Circle, and the first stop was getting a view of the pipeline that runs all the way from Prudhoe Bay down to Valdez. I think Valdez, yes, in Alaska. So from all the way in the north to all the way in the south of Alaska, this pipeline is constantly pumping oil down that then gets distributed around the U.S. So yeah, it was kind of cool to see and learn about. There's a little viewing point just outside of Fairbanks, and pretty interesting. It's actually built on like a sled, so the pipeline moves back and forth as the oil flows through it, as the temperature changes and things like that. There's actually quite a lot to it. And then we talked about the pigs that run through it. So those pictures are old pigs that used to run through and clean out the pipeline essentially, and those run constantly. There's some new ones that run now that are more efficient, but that was a fun little start to the long tour up to the Arctic Circle. So we got to see the pipeline during the few hours, less than 4 hours of daylight that I was experiencing up there. And then we made it to the Dalton Highway, to the start of it, where we took the sign. It was dark by then, but that's the start of the road that goes all the way up to Prudhoe Bay in the north, as far as you can go. And we took that road up all the way to, we stopped at Yukon River Camp, uh, which is right on the Yukon River, as you would expect. And we had dinner there. We saw some crazy trees that were just totally covered in snow, which was incredible. It's a harsh environment up there. And yeah, that was our stop for dinner. And then we're heading up to the Arctic Circle after that. So around 9 p.m. and about 200 miles of driving, we made it up to the Arctic Circle. This is my first time crossing into the Arctic Circle. We got to stop, see the sign, took some pictures, got a certificate. It was pretty cool to experience, and it was really fun just to be there in that moment. Being so far out there, I mean, there was no lights, so we you could see the stars so clearly. The Big Dipper was really bright, and it was beautiful. It was very cold. I think it was like -8 at that time, and there was a couple times on the way back as we were stopping where the wind was blowing, and so it was like -30, maybe even colder. But yeah, pretty cool to say that I crossed the Arctic Circle. So on the way back, we made multiple stops and got to see the Northern Lights. They were really bright that night, and just it's just beautiful. I don't know how else to describe it. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. Definitely a bucket list item that was checked off. And with that, I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the rest of this as I enjoyed it in silence and just enjoying it as it was. And here's a couple more pictures of the crazy trees that were covered in snow and ice. Got like I said, harsh environment for things to live and survive up there. But as you can see, it was a beautiful, beautiful night. So the next night, after we got back from that tour up to the Arctic Circle at 3 in the morning, just after 3 in the morning is when I made it back to my hotel. So it was a long night. It was over 12 hours. I think it was 13 hours altogether. But the next night, someone I met on that tour and we actually decided to go out to Chena Hot Springs, which everyone that we met along the way talked about. So we got to go in the hot springs, which was awesome. It was pretty crazy because it was 102 in the water, but it was like -2 outside of the water. And so my hair was freezing because I got it wet. And so my hair was freezing as I was like sweating from the hot springs. But that was a lot of fun. Anyways, these pictures are of the ice museum that's up there at the resort. It's a little resort area at the hot springs, and this is a really famous museum. The ice sculptures are incredible, and it was a ton of fun walking through it. It's kept at 25 degrees, I think, year round, but just beautiful sculptures. Some of them had some wear and tear on them for sure. But at the end of the tour, we actually got to have an apple martini made out of an ice glass, which you then go outside and you smash. You make a wish and then you smash it on the ground. So, um, yeah. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. There's an igloo in there. There's also rooms that you can actually rent and stay in if you want to. You can stay in them for a night, and they give you blankets and everything so that you're comfortable. But definitely recommend getting up there if you have some time. If you're up in the Fairbanks area, Chena Hot Springs is like an hour and a half outside of town, but well worth the drive. So that was the end of my trip up to Alaska. The next morning, I flew back. I flew to Anchorage, and then I flew to Seattle, and then drove home. But these are some pictures that I took from the air. It was beautiful, beautiful sights as I flew. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Alaska was amazing. I definitely recommend getting up there. I really enjoyed it in the winter, even though it was cold. I didn't get the worst of the cold, but such a wild place, so unique. And different parts of Alaska are different from each other, but I really enjoyed the Fairbanks area. And hopefully, this inspires you and gives you some recommendations that you can take on your trip up there. And I'll see y'all next week for another edition of From Around the World Fridays. Have a good week, everyone, and keep traveling.